Each year, the North Carolina chapter of the American Society of Landscape Architects congratulates undergraduate and graduate students enrolled in accredited programs across the state for their hard work and groundbreaking research. The chapter is pleased to recognize this year's winning submissions as a reflection of academic excellence in the wide variety of curriculum activities that lead to, guide, evaluate, or expand the profession of landscape architecture. Receiving a Student Merit Award for Analysis and Planning is Uncovering Forgotten Landscapes, prepared by a student team from the North Carolina State University. The landscape of New Bern, North Carolina is a product of its rich and diverse history. The jury was encouraged to see an interdisciplinary graduate student team of landscape architects and an architect diving into and discovering the unique historical landscapes of New Bern. The student team was focused on three key aspects of applying historical landscape patterns to today's modern needs. First, the design team wanted to create a healthier and more resilient community while providing opportunities for healthier lifestyles. Second, the design team wanted to improve development patterns to reduce environmental harm. Third, the design team was focused on raising awareness for strategic design solutions to environmental and social challenges in the Piedmont and coastal regions. The jury delighted in seeing the history graphically displayed and recorded as the basis for New Bern's elegant master plan. By addressing the values of the original pioneers through a contemporary lens, landscape architects have the potential to reconnect and introduce a new way of perceiving a city's landscape, thus creating a deeper bond with both the natural and built environments. Receiving a Student Merit Award for Analysis and Planning is the gold standard, urban renewal through intentional infill and design, prepared by a student team from North Carolina State University. Transdisciplinary collaboration is critical for the success of rural North Carolina communities. And for this project, 5 students with backgrounds in landscape architecture, biological and agricultural engineering worked together along with city planners, economists, and government officials to formulate a multifaceted plan to alleviate the economic and social problems faced by Goldsboro, North Carolina. Each student was able to bring their own expertise to the table, allowing them to tackle issues of stormwater management, housing, urban development, stream restoration, agricultural technology, tax policy, and community engagement. The jury was motivated by this excellent concept of collaboration with allied professions to creatively solve Goldsboro's unique issues. The jury was also pleased with the team's graphic presentation of very complex issues. Receiving a Student Honor Award for Analysis and Planning is Agritecture, closing the nutrient cycle of the Neuse River Basin and sustainably revitalizing a rural city, prepared by a student team from North Carolina State University. The jury applauded the design team's thorough research into topics generally not associated with the profession, but necessary to solve the complex issues facing rural America. Located within the Neuse River Basin in eastern North Carolina, Goldsboro is a rural city poised to rebrand itself for the future. Goldsboro's identity and economy are rooted in an agricultural system that has rapidly industrialized and globalized, resulting in challenges related to a lack of environmental stewardship, economic isolation, and environmental justice, all of which are compounded during extreme weather events such as Hurricane Matthew. Agritecture is a collaboration among 5 team members representing 4 complementary disciplines: landscape architecture, biological and agricultural engineering, city and regional planning, and architecture. Agritecture embodies the design process, environmental justice, and professional ethic advocated by the new Landscape Architecture Declaration, and it embraces landscape-based research as a key to a future informed by the needs of rural communities. The jury was delighted at the team's integration of allied professions. Receiving the Student Award of Excellence for Analysis and Planning is Brunswick Conservation and Land Planning Study by the North Carolina State University Coastal Dynamics Studio. As the human footprint continues to expand into both ecologically and socioeconomically fragile areas, ethical concerns of purpose are being magnified to greater extents as they particularly pertain to new developments. The 842-acre project site in Brunswick County, North Carolina, represents a unique opportunity to cultivate a more holistic way of analyzing sites and planning for future residential neighborhoods in increasingly sensitive environments. The relationship of hydric landscapes and Brunswick County's rich agricultural history was of particular significance. This project aimed not only to identify these correlations, but also to provide speculative recommendations as to how these influences could be realized via responsive and responsible design. The resulting landscape planning scenarios infuses conservation development, agrarian neighborhoods or agrihoods, and agricultural research hubs with comprehensive site analysis and planning. These processes resulted in an overall development approach that is sensitive to the site, development interests and investors, community needs, and, most importantly, to Brunswick County's cultural narrative. The jury praises the design team's efforts for not only producing a plan, but for producing a how-to manual that will document, guide, teach, preserve, and treasure the local culture as Brunswick County flourishes. Each year, our chapter is honored to recognize professionals in our state who conceptualize, design, and implement some of the finest examples of landscape architecture throughout our region, across the nation, and around the world. The North Carolina ASLA Landmark Award recognizes a distinguished landscape architecture project that was completed between 15 and 50 years ago, that retains its original design integrity and that contributes significantly and sustainably to the public realm. Receiving the Landmark Award of Merit is the Elizabeth Herring Garden at University of North Carolina, Greensboro by Surface 678. A memorial garden honoring a prominent patron of the University of North Carolina at Greensboro School of Music, the Elizabeth Herring Garden embodies a lifetime passion for music and gardening. The site is a narrow linear space stretching between the south face of the adjacent music building and a wooded slope. In response to the patrons' and university's program needs, the garden contains four main parts: a transition zone, separating the visitor from the parking area, a woodland garden, including many transplants from the patron's home, a seating area, providing students with study, reflection, and practice space, and a terrace, addressing the department's need for outdoor event space. The design captures the detail and familiarity found in the patron's residential garden, while also responding to its institutional setting with modern elements and a relationship with adjoining architecture. The patron donated the garden and a maintenance fund, allowing the garden to retain its form and beauty 18 years after completion, even as the university campus grows and changes around it. The jury was impressed with the care and detail of mixing both young and mature landscape elements to create a blended vision of a cohesive project. Old and new was orchestrated to perfection. The general design category recognizes site-specific works of landscape architecture or urban design that exhibit distinction in design, function, context, and environmental responsibility. Receiving a recognition award for general design is Market and Exchange Plazas by Surface 678. Restoring health and vibrancy to two underutilized spaces in the heart of downtown Raleigh, the plaza's redesign posed unique challenges for visitor flow, security, and integration into the urban fabric. Envisioned as a social hub of urban life, the plazas represent the convergence of a diverse community accommodating varying multicultural and intergenerational uses with flexible gathering and recreational spaces. The antiquated, dimly lit corridors transformed into dynamic, flexible public space, embracing an urban pedestrian revitalization and enhancing the walkability of Raleigh by seamlessly connecting several of its most used and inclusive public spaces and transportation hubs. The concept for both Market and Exchange provided an open plaza with edges programmed as retail, tenant amenity areas, balanced with landscape and seating positioned to allow for open views and movement through the spaces. The incorporation of flexible space, public access to technology and infrastructure, movable and fixed seating, and public art adds street-level usability and interest for Raleigh's diverse downtown community to meet naturally and interact comfortably. The jury noted that not only did the redesign of the plazas improve the public safety, but the plazas became far more inviting and usable for pedestrians within the adjacent buildings and the community at large. A remarkable improvement for a returning downtown. Receiving a Merit Award for General Design is Horseshoe Farm Nature Preserve by Surface 678. Sitting majestically above a dramatic oxbow adjacent to the Neuse River, Horseshoe Farm Nature Preserve is a showcase of low-impact park development and best management practices. Initial programming included athletic facilities, but after an extensive natural resource study, the design team and community environmentalists campaigned to preserve the site and restore a diverse ecosystem. The 146-acre former farm does not link to existing city infrastructure and is served by green alternative energy systems, a composting comfort station, and on-site water sources intended to highlight the potential for low-impact development and provide unique opportunities for interpretation and demonstration. The soft surface walking trails connect to the Neuse River Greenway, and the preserve serves as a trailhead. The site is designated as a State Natural Heritage Area, embodying a rich cultural history, preservation, and enhancement of its large open meadows, mature forested slopes, wetland, and shoreland environments. The Nature Preserve is a dynamic resource for both education and recreation, featuring family-friendly nature programs, volunteering planting coordination, passive recreation, and self-directed play. Receiving a Merit Award for General Design is Jack Smith Park by Surface 678. Once home to a small rural farm raising cattle and sheep on the outskirts of Cary, Jack Smith Park is a 50-acre multi-use recreational park warmly embraced by the regional community. The siting of the park's recreational features is in direct response to the nature and historical features of the land, including mature woodland, a remnant orchard, open fields, a farm pond, and a historic 1830s farmhouse. A deep dive into the site analyzed the site hydrology, slope, soil quality, existing flora, solar influence, and native wildlife habitats to shape the design. One result of early analysis was preserving and enhancing the site's natural systems, including streams, wetlands, and the existing farm pond. The park features a flexible, pedestrian-oriented design, with a network of paths and open views of the meadows and forests, and serves as a vital link to the town of Cary's Greenway system. Drawing regional visitors as Cary's first public spray ground, The park also features a climbing structure, dog park, and whimsical play areas accented with folk art installations from the local artists. The analysis and planning category recognizes excellence in the wide variety of professional activities that lead to, guide, or evaluate landscape architecture design. Receiving a merit award for analysis and planning is North Carolina Botanical Garden Comprehensive Master Plan by Surface 678. The North Carolina Botanical Garden requested the design team simultaneously develop a long-term comprehensive site plan for the facility and a feasibility study for the planned Plant Biodiversity Research Center. The design process wove in collaborative site analysis and future garden program development during public and community meetings with the North Carolina Botanic Garden Group. The comprehensive site plan addresses the North Carolina Botanic Garden's overall goals of creating exciting new gardens, developing path hierarchy, and increasing accessibility in conjunction with the construction of the Plant Biodiversity Research Center. The overall design approach is to simplify the visitor's experience at the garden by highlighting existing collections, clarifying the circulation, making informed expansions of gardens, and carefully placing future buildings. Adjacent to the Plant Biodiversity Research Center, the landscape design emphasizes the role of research and displays innovative methods of land management. Particular areas include the conservation zone around the existing Totten Oak and the installation of artful educational stormwater management devices. The design team envisioned a long-term plan for phasing development, celebrating both existing gardens and future research, and conservation and horticultural experimentation in the new gardens. Receiving a merit award for analysis and planning is Southern Gateway Corridor Study by J. Davis. The purpose of the study was to explore how the City of Raleigh might catalyze private investment and development in this strategic part of the city, which for the most part has been passed over by the strong economic development that the rest of the city has enjoyed. Although this close-in corridor provides an iconic view of Raleigh's skyline, the land uses are dated and economically underperforming as a vital urban district. Transit options are minimal, and ped bike access to downtown is inconvenient and hazardous. Strategic land assets are present, but the study area lacks a coherent identity and the strategic elements needed to generate and sustain healthy economic and community growth, particularly affordable housing options. The goal was to determine type and level of public infrastructure investment best targeted by the city to jumpstart private developer interest and equity investment. Secondly, if that public investment was successful, what would be the desired development patterns and what urban form and land use patterns might we expect? And would they be desirable to benefit the area and the city as a whole? Receiving an honor award for analysis and planning is North Carolina State University Engineering Building Oval by Surface 678. As the newest engineering building on NC State University's rapidly growing Centennial campus, the Engineering Building Oval continues a legacy of cross-discipline collaboration, housing the civil, construction, and environmental engineering and industrial and systems engineering programs. The site is positioned on 4 acres between the first engineering building and iconic Hunt Library, with the landscape and building working together to provide a transition between the formal northern end of the Centennial Oval and the informal southern end. Extensive site analysis revealed critical pedestrian connectivity along major campus pathways. Shaping the grades and elevations and working with the site's significant topography change to enhance opportunities for inviting entry experiences at multiple building levels. The design theme, Engineering on Display, is carried throughout the interior and exterior environments. Within the landscape, a biological engineering approach artfully weaves stormwater management elements to become focal points, captivating the attention of students, faculty, and visitors. The landscape architect developed the site design and established proposed elevations, allowing for the building and landscape to cohesively respond to the challenges of site constraints and significant topographical relief. The tight footprint was particularly challenging and required careful integration of stormwater management into the site design. The landscape architect worked alongside the architect to design entry plazas that strategically display the structural columns, architectural cantilevers, and other unique elements showcasing the engineering on display theme. The landscape architect designed the service entrance and access such that most of the utility and loading facilities are thoughtfully concealed from the exterior view. The research category recognizes research that identifies and investigates challenges posed in landscape architecture, providing results that advance the body of knowledge for the profession. Receiving an honor award for research is North Carolina Tidal Creek Study by North Carolina State University Coastal Dynamics Design Lab. North Carolina is home to more than 12,000 miles of shoreline in the transitional areas between fresh and salt water. While shorelines encompass large estuarine bodies, the water's edge is defined by hundreds of tidal creeks that provide critical habitat and ecological functions. The purpose of this study was to better understand the values, attitudes, and knowledge that influence residential landscaping decisions in coastal areas. Toward these ends, this study successfully characterized landscape features that reflect resident preferences and ecological best practices in the context of single-family homes in small, highly sensitive watersheds. Research goals included capturing resident preferences alongside their understanding of stormwater best practices, native plant communities, low maintenance, water-saving landscapes, transitional shoreline characteristics, and resilience to and mitigation of storm-related impacts. Findings from this study strongly support the potential for successful, sustainable landscape interventions. Survey findings were used to develop an initial set of recommendations aimed at community education and design assistance activities. A licensed landscape architect led the research team for this grant-funded study, including co-authoring the resulting peer-reviewed publication with a Master of Landscape Architecture student. The study was undertaken as a collaborative effort involving 3 university departments and colleges and numerous state and local agencies. The communications category recognizes achievements in sharing knowledge about landscape architecture history, art, technology, theory, and practice with those within and outside the profession. Receiving the Award of Excellence for Communication is Home Place, Conversation Guides for 6 Communities, Rebuilding After Hurricane Matthew, by North Carolina State University Coastal Dynamics Design Lab. In the wake of Hurricane Matthew in 2016, the Home Place Conservation Guides were developed to assist flood survivors decode the complex information associated with recovery efforts. The purpose of Home Place is to provide hard-hit communities with easy-to-understand technical assistance addressing post-disaster issues. Working within a larger state-led recovery framework, Home Place supports the development and delivery of rebuilding programs by providing residents with a menu of high-quality, community-specific designs and strategies at multiple scales, resulting in a coordinated post-disaster rebuilding effort that strengthens communities in the long run. It offers strategies for application from household to community scales, along with consideration for broader regional infrastructures, development patterns, and population trends. The goal is to build the local capacity of flood-prone communities, providing them with design, planning, and policy strategies and tools to promote the long-term function, health, and vitality of their residents and neighborhoods. The recommendations in the 6 community-specific guides are being woven into each community's recovery plans, allowing for the integration of informed input into an operational set of actions uniquely tailored to each community. A collaborative team of landscape architects, urban designers, policy planners, and graphic designers created Home Place. The guides operate at landscape scales of house and lot, community, and region to reflect local people, traditions, and defining environmental characteristics that design and planning activities are meant to serve. The mission is to create physical spaces that promote individual and community health, safety and well-being, history and heritage, and overall quality of life. The design team produced implementable, replicatable solutions that Eastern North Carolina communities can apply to recovery and resiliency issues and can be transferred to flood-prone communities around the world.